Klein is a political commentator, columnist, podcaster, and the co-author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Abundance. Yeah, right here. And he's here to talk about the current state of our democracy and share his thoughts on how Democrats can get their mojo back. Please welcome Ezra Klein. Welcome to the show, Ezra.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Lovely to see you. So the book has made a big splash.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
People just love municipal zoning policy, state capacity. Like, it's just shameless pandering all the way through.
It's #1, so I can't argue with that. Tell us what the book is about exactly.
So the book is about, at its core, is a very simple question. How do we get more of the things we need? And behind that is a critique. I'm Californian. At a certain point, I look around my own home state, and you look at the problems, and it's become very unaffordable. It's lost a lot of people. And the problem is we haven't built enough of what we need. Haven't built enough homes, haven't built enough infrastructure, haven't built enough clean energy. You look nationally, government is delivering. Even under Democrats, the people who say they believe in government, believe in a strong government, it's delivering incredibly slowly. And so the book is an investigation into what went wrong, and then what would have to go right for government to be able to create an abundant future, a future where we have enough of what we want.
Is it mostly about money?
It's about a lot of bureaucracy.
It's about all of it.
Yeah.
Money is a problem, bureaucracy is a problem, but there is a lack of connection between process and outcome.
Right.
You use this incredible example in the book of high-speed rail in California. I remember more than a decade ago when it was announced, and it should have have a huge impact on climate. It'd be able to make people live more affordably, commute more places. But actually, because of some climate policies, it's actually delayed its ability to be built. So sometimes you kind of point to these contradictions within what some of the Democrats are leaning into. But I want to ask you this, because you use this example of Democrats should run on, move to California, we can govern the whole country like it. But Republicans have actually been able to say it's so unaffordable, a lot of things don't work there well. So what is your message to Democrats on what they can learn to make blue states not be a place that people are fleeing to red states like Florida and Texas?
So no one should be more relentless about making government work than Democrats. We should be by far the most infuriated when it doesn't deliver and when it doesn't deliver fast. Now, it's worth saying California is not the only blue state in the nation. And there are particular problems in places like California and New York, but you look at a place like Colorado and it's governed fairly differently and it's working pretty well. There's a report I've been thinking about that shows how much it costs to build publicly subsidized housing, affordable housing in Colorado, in Texas, and in California. And per square foot, it's a lot more money to do it in California, even in Texas. In Colorado, when the government does it, it's a little bit cheaper than market rate development. So there are places we can look to learn things. France and Spain, they do public transit really, really well.
Wait till they start reporting all those undocumented immigrants working in construction.
No, look, you have a Trump administration that's really embraced scarcity right now. There's a version of what they could have been that could have come in and said, our biggest issue in the world is making things more affordable, making them more plentiful. And they've embraced tariffs, they've embraced deportations, they've destroyed the stock market. They do not want a future of more. They want a contained future where everything is ours.
Yeah.
And that's created a big opportunity for Democrats if they choose to take it.
Well, Ezra, I wanted to ask you, you write about what you call everything bagel liberalism and how that's gotten in the way of progress. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so if you dig into what happens after the bill passes, you look at what is happening in the project. Why didn't high-speed rail happen? What happened with rural broadband? You begin to see this layering on of dozens and dozens of different goals into a single project, right? You're trying to do all kinds of environmental standards and wage goals and things that are all, or many of them, on their own good.
Right.
But these things are very hard to do in the first place. It's hard to build high-speed rail. It's hard to get housing done in places where it's difficult to build, and the projects often collapse under their own weight. There aren't many single changes you could make that I think would do all that much across domains. But one cultural change you can make in governance is to say that projects should more or less be doing one thing or very few things.
Right.
That their goal should be their goal.
What's the one thing?
Well, it depends on the project. If you're building housing, it should be to build housing. And if you've created a situation where to build public housing, publicly subsidized housing in California, it's more than 4 times as expensive per square foot as building market housing in Texas, you have a problem and you need to work back through the process you created when you spend public money to figure out how you've added so much cost and time to the spending of public money.
Did you find
because
out
that's
why?
a betrayal of the taxpayer.
Did you find out why?
Yeah, I mean, I tracked back a bunch of different affordable housing projects. And I mean, different ones are different.
Yeah.
But the basic thing is public money in California, in a lot of places, triggers a bunch of new rules. It triggers different wage rules, it triggers different environmental rules, it triggers different building rules, and all of it adds cost and time. There are preferences for using small contractors, not big ones. And like I've done this on so many projects now, and they're all unhappy in their own ways. But it is a similar story across many of them, that they were not focused on the thing they promised, and oftentimes then they didn't get anything at all. Look, there's a million ideas that have gone into what we should be doing during California high-speed rail. But in the end, we haven't achieved any of them because you can't ride on high-speed rail. So like sometimes you try to achieve so much that you end up achieving nothing.
Ezra, much of what you take issue with, bureaucracy, overregulation, red tape, it kind of sounds an awful lot like what Elon Musk had promised he'd target with Doge. But that's been largely unsuccessful at finding huge waste. It's very unpopular, so unpopular that he's even tanking his own businesses as a result. Does that make it harder to make the case that government is the issue and bureaucracy and deregulation? What are they doing wrong?
I don't think so. Look, the fact that you have a patient who could use surgery doesn't mean you have a patient who could use a stabbing. And Doge is a stabbing. It's an effort to destroy state capacity. Throughout this book, Derek and I, what we're trying to do is argue for an expansion of what the state is capable of doing and delivering. Sometimes that is deregulation. Sometimes it is cutting through bureaucracy. Sometimes it's bringing a lot more expertise and capability in-house. It's an amazing thing as they run around talking about how bloated the government is. Since the 1960s, the size of the federal civilian workforce has barely budged. Yeah. We employed about 2 million people in it then. We employ about 2 million people in it now, give or take the people he's fired. You want to look at government and say, what does it need to be able to do, and what resources and rules does it need to have in order to achieve it? What they've done, I think, is an effort to create an ideological purge, break the thing and control it. We have a whole chapter on problems that make it harder for scientists who get NIH grants to do their best work. It's really important that we are not making scientists spend 40% of their year filling out grant proposals. It's also really important we're not firing all the scientists.
Right.
We can choose.
Well, Ezra, I want to ask you and your co-author Derek have talked about this on your book tour, that Operation Warp Speed was arguably Trump's single greatest success. If you were ever going to get a Nobel Peace Prize, it should have been for that. Yet he runs away from it, and he's actually defunding some of this mRNA vaccine research. But Democrats also haven't been quick to embrace the successes of pairing the federal government with the private sector to be able to do something remarkable in historic time. Do you think, is partisanship getting in the way of something that could be a model for many things we could do going forward?
Partisanship definitely gets in the way. I don't think it's fair that Democrats don't like public-private partnerships. I mean, Tesla was saved by an Obama-era loan guarantee program that also funded Solyndra. But it is true that Operation Warp Speed became an orphan. Trump ran away from it because his party turned anti-vax. And Democrats didn't want to credit Trump with having done something well. But Operation Warp Speed's a beautiful program. What we did was we speed ran, I mean, you were there, we created a speed run for how to get vaccines out. But then, and I think this is amazing, the price of a vaccine was $0, right? Because of the federal government had been so instrumental in the creation of it, we then said that there's going to be on the other side an expansion of who can get it. It's not just for the rich, it's not just for whomever can pay. And to us, it's a huge model. I would like to see Operation Warp Speed replicated across 10 or 12 domains. There is a lot of the book we haven't talked about is about innovation. There is so much we need to pull from the future into the present to create the kind of present we want. But if we're going to do it, then fairness and distribution has to be part of that deal too. It shouldn't just be we create research that the private market then uses and then slaps a patent on and charges Medicare $70,000 per person to purchase. Like, that's crazy.
You know, it's funny, your book is called Abundance, and basically what I see is cut, 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 cut. The opposite of abundance. That's what I see going on in the government right now. Cut this, cut that, cut. Take it away. It's like going to somebody's birthday party and taking all the gifts. Anyway, our thanks to Ezra Klein. You can buy his book, Abundance, by scanning the QR code on your screen. And members of our audience are going home with a copy.